Update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
That theme music means it's time for our weekly confab with Ted Dabrowski, president of Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Before we get to Ted, did you catch any of that Don Lemon interview with Elon Musk?
Yeah, I did.
Short-lived time on X. I don't know why Musk was like wanting to platform Don Lemon in the first place, but he was thoroughly disabused of that idea after spending an extended period of time with him.
Yeah, he just said no. But Don also had a list of demands. He wanted that truck. He just millions up front, and it wasn't going to work out, Dan.
This guy is unbelievable. This sort
what happened to Don, my friend?
I mean, it's unbelievable that he is, as you're about to hear, he is just so vacuous. I know he's lazy because I remember when he was lazy as a general assignment reporter for NBC5 in Chicago. And it's just so remarkable. But I tell you, anything is possible in America. If Don Lemon can make millions of dollars, then maybe we're doing something wrong. But it just shows you, hey, what the market will bear, I suppose, or what CNN will pay, one of the two.
Yeah, they paid him $26 million.
This is a conversation, this interview that you may have caught bits and pieces of or whatnot, but this is Don Lemon and Elon talking about DEI, and how DEI kills because it lowers standards. And listen to this sort of simple concept that Musk is trying to communicate to Lemon and how, just nonplussed Lemon is.
I believe that if we lower the standards for what it takes to become a doctor.
You're saying if we lower the standards, yes. But do you believe people are dying because the standards are being lowered?
I don't think that is yet an issue, but it could become an issue.
Okay. But the actual evidence in history shows the exact opposite. If you look at how minorities are treated by the medical system, most doctors now are white, and there are lots of mistakes in medicine. So you're saying that white doctors have bad medical care? I'm trying to understand your logic here when it comes to DEI, because there's no actual evidence of what you're saying.
No, I said so. If the standards, like let's say, I think that particular thing was referring to surgeons. Let's say a surgeon is asked to, a surgeon in training is asked to do a series of operations under the supervision of a senior surgeon, and they get a bunch of those operations wrong. If that happens, and yet they are still approved to be a surgeon, the probability that someone will die, I think, at some point is high.
Okay, I understand that, but that's a hypothetical. That doesn't mean it's happening.
I didn't say it's happening.
You didn't say it was happening.
I said it will. I said if we lower standards, people will die.
But why respond to something or put something out there that has not happened? Because I could say,
because I don't want it to happen. I think we don't want to lower standards.
Okay, if you look at the history.
I mean,
I can't listen to that anymore.
Lower standards lowers quality, Don.
In every aspect of life, not only the medical profession. Don.
Right. It's not happening. First of all, it is happening. Mm-hmm. And secondly, lower standards lowers quality. This is a foreign concept to Don Lemon. American Enterprise Institute, MCAT and GPA scores 2013 to 2016. I can only imagine where they are today. MCAT and GPA by race, and then overlaid with the rate of admission. So, for example, an MCAT of 24 to 26 and a GPA of 3.2 to 3.39. 56% of black applicants got admitted, 31% of Hispanic, 8% of white, 6% of Asian. The source is the Association of American Medical Colleges. Is that lowering the standard? MCAT of 27 to 29, GPA of 3.4 to 3.6. 81% of blacks admitted, 60% of Hispanics, 29% of whites, 21% of Asians. Again, Asians getting most short shrifted here. The point is this: standards. That's the point. Merit. And then it's not happening. I mean, somebody needs to do the cross-sectional study of like the background of all the malpractice suits that were where the insurance paid out or a doctor was found negligent or something. I guess maybe to quantify this, to really bring this home. But the concept is really irrefutable. But it's being refuted nonetheless. It's not happening. And I can point to other times where minorities were treated bad by the medical profession. I'm sure. And that's wrong, too. The Tuskegee experiments. Well, what does that have to do with how we're setting up the structure of education, training for our future medical professionals? It has nothing to do with it, which is why, by the way, there's legislation sponsored by a urologist, Murphy, out of North Carolina. He and Stanley Goldfarb, is a former associate med school dean and now the head of Do No Harm, legislation to eliminate dye from med schools for exactly the reason we're talking about. DEI, poison, and it's dangerous. More on this, Ted. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy.
We talked about
DEI.
Yeah.
Just really, DEI should be struck from everywhere, and it's used in our government every day now. It's what's fascinating to me is it makes it into things like budgets. They'll tell you that Lightfoot was really good at this, and Pritzker too. But in our budgets we look at these things through an equity lens. So forget actual numbers. We're going to do equity lens based budgeting, and of course that filters through everything now. So.
Well, and we were talking about Loyola Academy, so that's sort of a, seemingly an innocuous example, this theology class at Loyola Academy. Wheel of power and privilege, and you're categorizing people as oppressor and oppressed based on their body size and race and skin color and gender identity and all this other stuff. But it's not just at Loyola Academy, as you've recently done a little review at Wirepoints. And also the implications, boy, all of a sudden maybe they start to become a little bit more concrete. Maybe they're a little bit more real when you're talking about med schools and future doctors.
Yeah, you're just talking about standards, and I think that the easiest one to see where it starts, it starts way earlier. And, we can talk about like kids' sports and, who gets the trophies and all that. But then, moves right into the schools. And we've been talking about this a lot, but in the high schools, and now talking about minorities, not just minorities, because it's whites too, but CPS graduates something like 80-something% of blacks and Hispanics, and yet on the SAT, right, the standard form for measurement, most of them are 17, 15, 20% of them can read at grade level, or pass, let's call it pass English on the SAT, and yet they're graduating at 85%. So the standards are gone, and if you're a college and you cared about standards and you're getting kids from CPS, you wouldn't really know what you're getting anymore. But most colleges don't care anymore either. So it's the whole chain. It goes from college, and it goes to the DEI and companies, and it goes to DEI and doctors. It's destroying our system, and that's why DEI has to go.
Well, how is DEI playing out in Illinois schools?
Well, we wrote about that, and I think I keep running into people that don't really know what DEI is, or most of them just if they're not following, call it any kind of center right news, the center left doesn't cover it at all in the news. And so a lot of them just think it's benevolent stuff, and they're in the Wilmette area. They think DEI is benevolent. It's come on, we're just talking about race. What's the big deal? But you start to look at what's being taught in the schools, and we looked at what was in New Trier over the last couple of years, and they start talking about privilege. Oh, it's kind of soft. You're privileged, but talking to parents and talking to some kids, you start to realize that if this is talked about over and over again, that you're privileged, you're white, you're a Christian, you are, you have married parents. Well, you're lucky. What you get and what you do it has nothing to do with your effort. It's all about your skin tone and your privilege. And the opposite is true. If you're not those things, then you are, you're screwed. No matter how hard you try, you're screwed. And we posted on Wirepoints this morning, kind of a lesson plan that they went through with kids in that. And it's just over and over and over, and when it becomes a message of every day of the oppressor and the oppressed, the victim and the oppressor, I don't know what you want people to think other than that something's screwed up.
Well, it's not just the message; it's the actual policies. It's who gets rewarded and for what reason. So, for example, Loyola Academy is a test in school. So, what are they doing with respect to admittance, for example? Has anybody looked at that recently? So and then as you go next level, as you said, the college infrastructure that's built around this and the corporate infrastructure that's built around this. So then you're on a life track where this is always the basis on which decisions are being made, who advances and who doesn't, how we organize our daily business, whether it's in school or the real world. It's more than just idle chatter about race and privilege, doing some sort of retrospective of Western civilization. It's a little bit more serious than that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But I think the predicate for perpetuating that kind of stuff all the way through college and then work is making sure that everybody thinks that way, right? And so, we also found that New Trier, and it's happening elsewhere, Evanston and others, they're creating these affinity groups. And, they're segregating groups. It sounds okay. The blacks will talk to the blacks, and the Hispanics will be with Hispanics, and the whites, not the normal whites, but the anti-racist whites will get together. And so what you're doing is you're creating more and more division. And I loved when this person now, I'm forgetting his name right now, Peter Kirsanow, who's from the Civil Rights Commission, he came out and slammed Evanston for segregating teachers, and then of course later segregating students, and just saying that you're encouraging people to look at each other as members of groups and not individuals, and not just groups but rival groups, right? Grievance. It's just so toxic and so dangerous as you move up the chain, because this is how kids are being taught to think, and they're not pushing back many of them aren't pushing back when they move into the corporate world and the university world.
On this election day, what are you watching? Let me guess, school referenda.
We're certainly watching that. That's one because we've seen a little bit of pushback by the groups. Is it ever enough for those opposing tax hikes and big old hundreds of millions of spending? So we're certainly watching that. I think it'll be interesting to watch the state's attorney's race. Not because I think there'll be a big difference between the two, but it will be interesting to see whether you heard a lot of Republicans saying they're going to cross over and vote pull a Democratic ballot and vote for Eileen O'Neill Burke. So that'll be interesting to see. And I think that, of course, the bring home Chicago, that'll be it should pass easily because again you pit 96% of the people against the few that get hurt by the higher real estate tax. So. But I'd say no big changes, right? Nothing's going to dramatically change off of this election in Chicago, except for if they do pass that tax hike, it's going to be more pain on the real estate market.
What are you hearing though? Do you think a lot of Republicans are going to be pulling Democratic ballots?
I think so. I've heard a lot of people saying that. I think a lot of people have been wooed by her commentary. It's certainly what she says is better than what Clayton Harris says, but there's really not any differences, enough differences to make a difference between the two. So but I think people may feel good about it, and I think it's a wrong message to send. I think it's wrong to say, "Hey, I helped her in there," because I think most of what she's about is preserving the status quo. Maybe just not as obsessively as Fox, for example.
Well, here's one of her closing 10-second arguments.
Oh, no, the justice system's not working right now. If you're happy with things are, then vote for my opponent, because he hasn't been in a courtroom in 20 years and wants to keep everything the same.
Yeah, well, the problem is that some of the people who've been in the courtroom for the last 20 years are just as bad. Ted Dabrowski, president of Wirepoints, wirepoints.org. Thanks as always, Ted. Appreciate it.
You guys.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer.